All right, party people, what's going on? Welcome to First Things First, your morning cybersecurity threat briefing presented by me, Gerald Auger. It's coffee, it's commentary, it's friends, and it is Tuesday, January 25th. We're going to get you set up. Today, you're going to know what the top news stories are in the cybersecurity industry. You'll know how they affect you, and you'll also know how you can use this information to better execute your job as a cybersecurity practitioner, or if you're looking to bust into the field. I'm telling you right now, you're going to be asked, what do you do to stay current? And this is what we're doing. So I love it. I see chat up in here. Base was telling me that you guys were having a party before I dropped in. So love seeing that. I want to give a special shout out to Will Singleton and his whole crew, who are now members of the Simply Cyber community, getting their threat briefings this morning. Also, shout out to my own Aunt Kathy, who is supporting the Simply Cyber community, dropping into chat today to say hi and just see what's going on. Guys, if you are interested in having this type of conversation and keep it going, really engage with the community, build a network for yourself, definitely come on over to simplycyber.io/discord. It'll take you right to the server. Get in there, get some, right? There's like all sorts of discussions going on in there. I'm taking that John Strand training right now with a bunch of you. Tom's in there, Brian Godfrey's in there, and we're having a good time. So if you want to play along, we are going to be going to cisoseries.com. It's where we always get our daily threat briefings from. cisoseries.com. David Spark and his crew, awesome content. Let's say hi to chat. Hey, Kimberly, good to see you. Bryant, what do I think of John Strand's class so far? Total aces. Aces. You want to talk about a man who understands what he's saying and has passion for the topic? John Strand is your dude. I'm literally, not only am I learning stuff that I plan on using in my practice, but I'm actually taking a bunch of notes, screenshots and stuff. No one asked me to do this, and I don't know if anyone's going to care, but I plan on doing kind of like a retrospective experience on the course as a produced video. Just so if someone says like this exact question, what do you think of John Strand's course? I'm gonna be like, check this video out and come back if you have any questions. But I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Morning, Michelle Murphy. Good to see you in there. Chinyuri, always a pleasure. You're a regular in the stream. Pamela's in there. Pamela knows John Strand's class. We're going to spin it back up at 11 a.m. today, Eastern time. Yeah, Bryant. Good to see you, James Driscoll. Guys, really appreciate the support you give the channel and sharing it with other people in your community that you think will add value. I've already kind of peeked ahead at what the news stories are today, and we've got some real juicy ones to dig into. So I think it's about time. Yeah, Gregory Jones, good to see you. Hey, Garrett. All right, guys, we're going to dig in. Again, if you want to play along, cisoseries.com. Let's do it.
From the CISO series, it's Cybersecurity Headlines.
It's Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. SBA launches cybersecurity program. The U.S. Small Business Administration launched the Cybersecurity for Small Business pilot program, offering $3 million in grants to help smaller organizations improve their security posture. These funds can be used by smaller firms across industries for security training, counseling, and remediation services. This pilot will only accept applications from January 26th through March 3rd. The hope is that this will help smaller firms shore up cybersecurity infrastructure before getting hit with an attack, which could pose more of an existential risk given their smaller size.
All right, guys. So a couple of things here. One, love seeing that the small businesses are trying to get a little bit of cyber love. For those of you who don't know, I have a PhD and I had to do a dissertation research project, and it was exclusively focused on why small businesses are terrible at cybersecurity, specifically in South Carolina, specifically in healthcare. But trust me, the problem crosses industries. The problem here, and I don't think throwing $3 million is going to help it. And anyone in chat who has tried to help a small business with their cybersecurity understands that like they don't have the staff to even understand like that what cybersecurity is or what they need to do with it. And when you try to help them, it looks like a line item expense. Small businesses typically run lean. It's very difficult to break through and help them understand. A lot of them also will assume that MSPs or outsourced IT will like outsourced IT is also providing information security, because small business owners are not technologists, they're not cybersecurity practitioners. They do not understand that InfoSec and IT are two different disciplines, and there's a little bit of overlap, but they're two different disciplines. So what'll end up happening, sadly, is this $3 million in grants, if I had to guess, will go to outsourced IT service providers who are spinning their marketing to say that they're also providing cybersecurity services. And before anyone on chat flames me, I understand some MSPs do provide cybersecurity services, but real cybersecurity services, incident response, those type of things, that's not often an MSP. And I know Eric Taylor's up in chat. He helps people with that. I guess I chalk this up as like, this is a good effort and we're moving in the right direction. But I think this is one of those ones when like the money gets issued and the checks go out, I don't know if we'll move forward on securing and protecting small businesses in a way that this program was designed for.
Ransomware gangs step up insider recruitment. According to a Hitachi IT survey of 100 large IT firms, 65% of firms report that they or their employees were approached by ransomware organizations in the past year to establish an initial access to an organization's network. This is up from 48% last year. Of those approached, 27% were over the phone, although the vast majority used email or social media to contact potential insiders. 57% of the offers involved either cash or Bitcoin transfers below $500,000. Interestingly, getting the help of an insider seemed tangential to a ransomware gang's plans, with targeted organizations attacked 50% of the time anyway. The survey found only 8% of IT executives were more worried about internal threats than external.
All right. So, I got to get a sound buzzer for Carl. Okay. Cue up Carl. Listen, ransomware gangs increasing their efforts to enlist insiders. Not surprising. I'm glad that it's being reported on. Listen, we always talk about the insider threat. It's tough to turn to Carl and be like, Carl, I know you've been here for 3 years, but you're a little suspect. You got to have zero trust, and it sucks. Ransomware threat actors with their ransomware as a model service, if they can get you to detonate ransomware malware on a network, they'll get a piece of the pie, you get a piece of the pie. And instead of having to phish you, get your credentials, bust through a VPN that doesn't have MFA, whatever it is, if I can just tell you, listen, let's pick someone. Michael Taylor, love you, mean it. I'm picking you because you're in chat right here. If I call Michael Taylor and I'm like, hey, Michael, I'll give you $100,000 today if you just run this executable on your endpoint, right? $100,000, maybe that's motivating. Maybe that's an incentive. With the Great Resignation and the wealth, the wealth gap divide happening right now, $100,000 might be life changing. So, and $100,000 is going to be just a sliver of what the ransomware gangs are going to get in their ransom. So, again, for this particular one, I would definitely say you've got to have strong endpoint detection and response controls, right? EDR solutions, your endpoints from detonating malware. Also, you've got to have, email's not going to fix this one, email security, but educate your end users, make them aware, have good backups, business continuity, all that stuff. Ransomware is not going anywhere, people. And just as a quick touch on this SBA thing, I agree. $3 million is definitely not remotely close enough to fix the problem.
American Olympians warned to take cybersecurity precautions. The Wall Street Journal sources say the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee notified athletes last month that every device, communication, transaction, and online activity may be monitored. Your devices may also be compromised with malicious software, which could negatively impact future use. This also included a recommendation to leave personal devices at home and use a one-off burner phone. This comes after researchers at the University of Toronto discovered the official app for the Olympics was rife with security and privacy issues. We covered it on the show last week. The Chinese government is allowing athletes to access sites normally blocked during the games, including Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah, no surprise here, guys. Same advice when you go to DEF CON. If there's a higher risk of attack and threat, especially with stingrays and stuff like that and vulnerable apps, leave your phone at home. Bring a burner phone. Listen, Team USA needs to go to DEF CON 3's webpage and pull down best practices, or send them to DEF CON 101 and have them follow best practices, right? Bring burner phone, bring burner laptop. This isn't a story for us really as much as, oh, thanks Doc Drake for subscribing to the channel. It's more of, be aware that when you go into a heightened risk area, whether it's a foreign theater, meaning like you're a military and you go into a foreign theater, you're going into merger and acquisition, and you're doing heavy negotiating, just know that you're a target, right? So that's all I'll say about this one. Also, my Mac just informed me that my disk is filling up. So I don't know what is writing to disk right now, but if this thing goes sideways, just know I'm okay. All right.
Australian Prime Minister loses access to WeChat account. The office of the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison reported it lost access to its WeChat account in July. The account retained the PM's 76,000 followers. It changed its name to Australia China New Life in January and notified users that it would promote Chinese life in Australia. So this was a social engineering attack that obtained access to a prominent channel used by a head of government to disseminate misinformation? It doesn't look that way. The Chinese firm Fuzhou 985 Technology acquired the WeChat account, and according to an employee, the company bought the account because it had a large fan base, but was unaware it was connected to Morrison. The account was obtained by Morrison's office through an agent and registered with an individual in mainland China, who apparently sold it to the Chinese firm.
Okay, so, I don't know what to tell you. Like, so someone bought a WeChat account and had no idea. Come on, you had no idea. You literally bought a WeChat account for more than free, so you spent money on it, and it had 76,000 subs attached to it, and you had no idea it was somebody else's. That's silly. And then immediately start promoting Australia pro Australia China relation type stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm calling shenanigans on this one, but I guess just know that social media accounts, WeChat, Telegram, Facebook, whatever, those accounts can be stolen and sold. It's so put MFA on your account. There's an idea. Unless this was some sick 0-day to sell a WeChat account, the Australian Prime Minister has bad cyber hygiene. That's all I'm going to say about that. Put MFA on your accounts, people. All right.
And now a word from
Skip.
Tor Project and the Russian digital rights organization Roskomsvoboda filed an appeal to a decision by the Saratov District Court to block the torproject.org website in Russia. The site was blocked in December 2021, as well as public proxy servers and some bridges. Tor argues the decision was not based on any particular content, saying the ban violates the constitutional right to freely provide, receive, and disseminate information and protect privacy. Russian users account for the second largest Tor user base, with over 300,000 daily users.
Okay, I had no idea that the Russian user base was the second largest Tor user base in general. I'm not surprised by this. I'm not an expert in Russian judicial systems or Russian government. But Russia, the state, is the one imposing these restrictions on Tor being blocked. So basically people can't anonymously hide what they're doing or the traffic they're doing. And by the way, guys, it's not always malicious and nefarious. And I know a lot of people think Tor is so you can get to the dark web, which it is. But say you're an investigative journalist. Say you're you're anti-pro regime that's in charge right now, right? Like you're not anti-government, but you're anti-whatever, like you're anti-democrat, you're anti-republican, whatever. Like you want some anonymity and privacy so you're not being targeted, right? So there are justifiable reasons for this. The reason I mentioned the judicial system in Russia and stuff like that is like if you're putting in a request for a Russian court to stop this block, I don't know if that Russian court is influenced or tied to the state. I don't know. But just know that Tor allows you to do this, and this is an example of a government exerting its force to prevent anonymity by the population in using cyber services. Again, this isn't really something for me to do as a practitioner. This is just interesting news in a cybersecurity concept, kind of privacy, but it's not actionable by me.
CWP bug opens the door to root execution on Linux. Security
there we go. Now
researchers
this
at
is
Octagon
actionable.
Networks discovered two flaws in the popular Linux control panel CWP, previously known as CentOS Web Panel, that could be chained to gain remote code execution as root on a server. CWP is supported by CentOS, Rocky Linux, Alma Linux, and Oracle Linux. A file inclusion vulnerability could let an attacker register for an API key and write a new key using a file write flaw. The researchers say they will release a proof of concept code once enough systems are upgraded to a patched CWP version. Bleeping Computer found 80,000 internet-exposed CWP servers online.
Okay, so here's the deal with this one. Like, this is a CentOS vulnerability. The researchers found it. They do have a proof of concept. They just haven't released it yet. I do feel like if you're running CentOS or the other ones that they said that I never heard of, like Rocky OS and whatever, then you should be savvy enough from a technical perspective to understand how to patch your system and to keep it patched, especially if you're running it as some type of like web server. I'm not sure. Like CentOS is the only one I've heard of, and I'm not sure where CentOS is mainly used. I'm not sure if anybody in chat like knows of like popular use cases of CentOS, but basically patch your stuff. That's all this is. Patch your stuff. If you have CentOS up in your environment, patch your stuff. If you don't know if you have CentOS in your environment, run Shodan, look for it, see if it's externally accessible, because your external facing perimeter is the one that's going to be targeted first, right? And then, do a vulnerability scan internal or an asset finding scan internal and see if you got any CentOS up in here. Okay.
German publishers push back on Google's cookie sunsetting. The Financial Times reports that a group of 100 of German publishers, advertisers, and trade groups filed a complaint with EU competition chief Margrethe Vestager, arguing that Google's plan to sunset support for third-party cookies in Chrome, part of its overall privacy sandbox initiative, breaches EU competition laws. The publishers argue that Google's proposed cookie replacement is insufficient, as they must be allowed to ask for user consent to process ad targeting data without Google capturing this decision, arguing Google's system would be interfering in a relationship with users. Google also currently faces 2 antitrust investigations in Germany, with one involving its News Showcase product, so its relationship with German publishers was already on rocky ground.
So this is interesting. So again, I don't know, this is a hot debated topic. I don't know where people are as far as privacy and kind of tracking you online and your behaviors online. But from what I gathered from this Google's privacy sandbox, basically Google on your phone or your device looks at all the third-party cookies and tokens and stuff coming in and trackers coming in, and then records it for themselves and then blocks it from being done. So it's almost like you can, we'll protect you, don't worry. But then they're also aggregating all of that information as kind of like a gatekeeper kind of thing. So obviously Google can then take that information and either monetize it or target what they're sending to you specifically based on that information, whereas the third-party vendors aren't getting to you. So they're kind of hosed in this whole transaction. The whole world of like, one by one pixels and in tracking things and all that, that's kind of a brave new world for me that I'm learning a little bit about. But I don't really know a lot about it, honestly. So it's Google is the Borg of web services. It really is. It's crazy when you actually hear about like what Google in these tracking pixels and what they do and how they go across services. Like you think it's just like they know that I came from this website or they know that I like Snickers bars, but in reality it's much more different. It's like you spent this much time on this page and you scrolled this way and you clicked here and you responded this way, and it's like wicked intense telemetry, way beyond like anything I had imagined. I just got a little taste of it from talking with Nate O'Reilly, who is excellent. If you don't know Nato, connect with him on LinkedIn. The guy is a genius when it comes to automation and the tracking type of stuff. Okay.
Microsoft restricts all Excel macros by default. Macros, literal application shortcuts that provide an example of the convenience versus security spectrum. Given their ability to execute malicious code, Microsoft has been gradually restricting their use. In 2016, macros were turned off by default in Office. Then, last July, administrators had the option to restrict the use of Excel 4.0 XML macros. Now, the latest build of Excel restricts all Excel 4.0 macros by default. Admins can still allow these to be used, but they must be enabled in the Excel Trust Center as a group policy setting. That's just about...
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad to see this. This is really one of those big arguments, big fights between convenience and functionality versus security. It doesn't happen all that often where some type of security control really restricts functionality. You sometimes see it with remote access and like, oh, like the vendor wants you to use log me in, and we're like, log me in is hot trash. Like, we're not using that here. And then there's pushback, or, oh, we're a Windows shop, but the CEO wants to use a MacBook. Okay, I guess we got MacBooks up in here. So I'm appreciative that Microsoft is restricting this. Macros are like how, like, it's like a key attack vector on how malicious actors can execute malware or build malware or reach out and grab malware from within your environment successfully, because the macro will detonate on the machine, and then it'll reach out to a C2 infrastructure originating from inside the network. It's coming from inside the network, right? And then it'll look normal and it'll pull it down and it'll detonate it. So by restricting the macros, you keep Carl from like looking at the invoice and saying, you need to enable macros and able to see beneath this. And they're just clicking through, because at the end of the day, as much as I trash on Carl, you need to be able to do your job. And Carl's focused on, in this case, getting invoices and paying them, right? He's not concerned with whether or not the macros are secure or not. So I'm glad that they're doing this. I'm sure it's going to be met with some heartburn and some heartache. But at the end of the day, when we banned ActionScript, do you remember that? I don't know if you guys remember that, but when we banned Flash as a community, there was some heartburn, but then, whatever, people find a way to do their job and get around it. So this will be a pain in the butt at the beginning, and then it'll be fine ever afterwards. Okay. So guys, real quick, if you are interested, I want to share with you this Thursday, we're inviting Ricky Tan onto the Simply Cyber Live, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He has the YouTube channel Cyberspatial, which is awesome. If you guys haven't seen it, this dude has an absolute gift for storytelling and cybersecurity, like kind of Jack Resider-ish in that it's just a really nice storytelling experience. And he's got all that. We're not even bringing him on for that, although we'll get into it. We're talking about the job role cyber cartography on Thursday. And if you don't know what that role is, I didn't know what it was either until he told me about it. And it's actually quite brilliant. He picked it up in the military, and he's going to share with us like what that role is, why you might be interested in it, and all of those things. Again, we're rocking first things first cybersecurity threat briefing, guys. Tomorrow is Wednesday, January 26th, which means I'm not teaching, which means it's an 8 a.m. start, 8 a.m. stand up for our top cyber threat briefings. Let's see, looking at chat for a minute here. Yeah, infect ourselves, VSEC. It's all about Carl. Guys, I absolutely love the morning threat briefings and working with you guys. For those of you who are going to be in John Strand's class with me later, I'll see you in there. We'll have a good time. For the rest of you, look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Y'all be good, and we'll see you out there, okay? Thank you.